Hello and welcome to Beyond. Before I begin, I'm just going to read through a brief disclaimer. Please feel free to read along as well. Beyond Trader LLC is strictly a research publishing firm. The information we publish is based on our opinions plus our quantitative models, statistical and financial data, and independent research. This service is not registered with any financial regulatory agency, such as the SEC or any other organization or governmental body. By using our platform or our services, you acknowledge that we do not provide personalized recommendation or advice. Alternative asset classes are volatile investments and carry significant risk. Please do your own research before making any financial decisions. Okay, so on this week's agenda, I'm going to be having a very broad look at Bitcoin through all the perspectives of our different quant indicators, just to see basically what they're saying, and going into the week ahead, see if we can find a common theme or a thesis moving into the next week. I do, I guess, want to note that, the general view of Bitcoin in terms of us at Beyond is that we're very positive towards it. However, it would be nice if we can get a match with our key indicators. So with that said, let's go to the indicator page first, and let's start with Beyond Atlas. Now, as you know, if you've been following Beyond, or if you're already a subscriber, Beyond Atlas has been tracking sadly higher over the last couple of weeks. So Beyond Atlas is a inverse indicator, and it tracks various metrics, but a big component is the money flow index. And we find this incredibly accurate in terms of an inverse indicator. So what we like to see, if we're bullish on Bitcoin, obviously we want to be bullish on Bitcoin because we're in a bull cycle, and we want to see Atlas trending lower, basically, so that it can encourage moves higher. So at the moment, we've been moving very close to the red zone. So typically the red zone is a place where we start to see a reversal in the trend over sold conditions. So it's not a disaster, the fact that we have been moving towards the red zone. However, what we don't want to see is this continue for too much longer, as we are obviously approaching quite a late stage in the Bitcoin cycle. So I thought something that we'd look for is comparisons to where we are now and obviously previous cycles. So if we have a look all the way back to the left of the screen here, and you can see that during the 2017 cycle, before Bitcoin went parabolic, we moved very close to where we are now. And obviously we started to curve lower, and then Bitcoin had its parabolic run. Also, if we have a look at 2020, we were just slightly under where we were now. Atlas started to move lower, and then we had the parabolic run. So we're at that kind of point now where we need to see a turning point in Atlas. So moving into next week is very key, what we see here. And if we have a look over the last few days, actually, Atlas has been slowing down and flatlining. So there is indications after the kind of, like a multi-month kind of like grind higher in Atlas, that we could finally be seeing some movement down in Atlas, and that would very much encourage a multi-month trend higher, and that's certainly something that we want to see. Now, moving on to another flagship metric of ours, and we've got the Vanguard indicator. So as you know, Vanguard on the weekly time frame is probably the number one indicator that we have at Beyond in terms of a multi-week price trend. So sadly, the last couple of weeks we flipped to orange, and we've basically been trending lower. So that gives us a nice head up in terms of how far the correction might go. So typically when we have these big blow-offs to the downside, we start to see some red show up, but we haven't seen the big blow-off yet. So that could either indicate that we're not going to go any lower, or we're kind of done out here. So like previous occasions, we've seen a reversal from the orange into green and so on and so forth. So we're at an interesting time in terms of Vanguard. So the ideal situation for Vanguard, I believe, is that we close above the 119 level, and then we're probably going to see some type of flip into green or blue next week. But if we move underneath the low, then we'll get the red signal and that final kind of blow off before we see either sideways or a recovery. So Vanguard, it very much comes into its own when it starts to print green, because that usually predicts multiple weeks of upside, as you can clearly see here. So it's not really telling us a great deal at the moment. Either are we getting close to a bottom, or in fact, we have already bottomed. So moving on to something else is very interesting for me. If we go on to our long-short ratio, and obviously if we have a look at global accounts, that shows the retail accounts. But if we have a look at the position accounts, that lets us know the traders with the highest balances. And this is obviously considered the smart money. So if we see here, the smart money has been buying aggressively since September the 5th. i.e. Friday after we got the dire result, and they started to buy around this region here after we saw the big correction. So they're expecting a recovery back, and they've got an average price of around about 120,000 plus. So that's very, very encouraging going into next week, and that could coincide with a nice, meaningful price bottom. So moving on to another indicator and our pivot points. So with pivot points, yearly and monthly pivot points is the way to go in terms of if we want price guidance and also where we could see some stabilization. So let's have a look towards the monthly and the yearly pivot points. So the monthly pivot point around 113,000. We tested the monthly pivot point or very close to it on Friday and reverse. So next week, it's super important that we start to get above there, and then we can gravitate to these monthly targets, although I expect much higher. But if you have a look on the yearly, we've obviously tested the yearly pivot point bounce and moved slightly above the R1. So we've got these higher targets left if we are in the true bull cycle. So at the moment, things look good. Top traders are expecting more gains. Atlas may be turning lower. Hopefully, if we can start to see this price recovery, i.e. towards top traders' expectations of 120. So things are very finely balanced next week. And, our indicators are not wholly bearish, despite Bitcoin trading close to around $111,000. So I hope you enjoyed the run through this week, and I'll see you again next week.